Hello everybody, you are tuned to the Sexy Asian Dragon, and it is me, Pacific. I want to take time to share with you a stark contrast as an American. And before I get going, I want to say something. I want to say something to the sudden rise in troll behavior. I don't know most of these people and who they are. They claim they've been watching. You know, I don't know who you are. I notice all of a sudden people are being critical, and I find it interesting that a bunch of them are jumping on the bandwagon. Well, guess what? You might want to just go away by yourself before I block you, because we're going to be doing more videos talking about negative things you don't like to hear. We live in a world today that people want to think positive, and they want to be obsessed with their SUV. They want to be obsessed with themselves, and they don't want to hear negative stuff. Hey, this is not the channel for you. This is not a negative channel. This is not a positive channel. This is a reality channel. And I submit to you as my prime example is Jeremiah. Read the whole book of Jeremiah in the Bible from one end to the other, and read about what they did to him when he was just talking about their problem, the Israeli problem at his time. They threw him down a well. He didn't want to hear what he had to say. And he says, I cannot but speak. There's a fire in my bones. That being said, there are times we revisit subjects and come at them from different angles. And as teachers used to say, how do you learn something? Repetition, repetition, repetition. People watch videos that make them lust. People listen to the same song over and over again. And I don't believe that in my videos that they are all the same thing over and over. Subject matter, yes. The actual content dealing with that subject matter, there may be some overlay, but generally we try to keep it fresh. I want to highlight the difference between a 24-year-old Cebuano woman from Cebu, now living in Melbourne, and the intellectual maturity that she exhibits, contrasted to 24-year-old women in the U.S. that are caught up in political correctness, caught up in narcissism. She left a comment on Skype yesterday that stated that her teacher asked her in a class that the teacher picked groups where you have to interact with each other. That's getting harder to do with today's people. I don't know if you've noticed, but we're going to talk about Melbourne, Australia, and the university she attends. She was with two other people, a good-looking Spanish gal who had all the good looks, and then a redhead guy with a mustache. And neither one of them are enthusiastic, and she said the Spanish girl could be a biatch. And the guy was just uninterested, and both of them looked at her with what she said body language appeared to be mild irritation. She said, I was passionate, I was excited, and there was just none of that. She said, you are the only one that I can communicate with that actually gets me excited to face life and to talk about issues. I cannot find any guys my age. I cannot find guys older than me, and I don't even want to talk to the ones younger than me. Maharani is very transparent about her struggles in life. But I told her what is surprising to me is that if she was here in the U.S. just on her looks alone, that there would be guys that would go after her. Not so in Australia. The only kind of guys that show interest in her are very much older men, even older than me, at her church. And she says, no. Guys that cannot get a girlfriend. She said today's millennials, is what she called them, are self-absorbed, atheistic, agnostic, no passion. You can't hold a deep discussion with them, and they're just caught up in themselves in every sense of the word. Maharani and I had a debate on the Catholic Church. And let me say to my readers, viewers, Pacific will never relent, apologize, or back up on his views on the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church to me does not represent the purity and simplicity of the gospel message. The Catholic Church is a religion, a hierarchical system of control that goes back literally over 1,000 years. Almost 2 millennium. And the thing that any Bible scholar would do is look at the tenets of the Catholic faith, the sacraments, the things that they do, the honoring of the saints, the canonization of the saints, the praying to Mary, the praying to the saints, the rosary, the belief in purgatory, the belief that you must confess all your sins to some priest out there and call him Father, and I could go on and on and on. The connections to Babylon are, without a doubt, clear and evident to any student of the Word and any student of Alexander Hislop's book, The Two Babylons, written in 1900. That being said, though, here's what Maharani wrote me the other day. Love, I hope your day went well with your son. I believe it is important that you both reestablish this relationship as any child should with their parents. The reason I've decided to write you through this is because I may go too long with this over at Skype. I hope you won't mind this at all, and certainly not annoyed with me for talking about this. It is in my heart and through deep reflection that I just want to share this one with you. This is just about the conversation we had, especially about the views we both have on Constantine and the church of that period. Love, and smiling as I write this, as I don't mean to annoy you, just that I wish that I was able to share with you properly my view on this while we still chatted then. I am passionate over this aspect of my faith, which is its historical aspects of it, for largely it is an essential part of Christianity. I have to scroll down, so excuse me. As I have said before, I don't entirely agree on the stance with what Catholicism espouses, but then again, I have not read its doctrines enough to even learn what they truly believe on, and no getting it from secondary sources. Examples from scholars who have biases against for the church is not the way to learn what their doctrines are. You know, if I should be able to properly present my argument and have reasonable disagreement with my opponent, I must learn also where they stand and what they believe in. Gosh, this is hard. I'll tell you, Hotmail's a pain in the butt. Constantine may be ignorant in a lot of things about the Christian faith and certainly no more perfect than we both are in his walk with God, due to him not having enough time to study the scriptures, him being a leader so busy in political affairs in the empire. Nevertheless, he was sincere in his newfound belief in it and legalized Christianity in the West, or at least, or generally much of Europe. This is crucial, as that period before that, Christianity was still very much despised and even seen as a cult by the mainstream non-believers then. Europe today wouldn't have been the same without him having made this very radical move in the Roman Empire. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't think much of Europe would have known enough of the Christian faith. There would still have been converts, but it would have remained as like the way Christianity is spread today around the East. Getting slated as a minority of a faith were not many unless deeply sincere in their search for truth, which there are really just a few. I say all this because it is relevant to me in how the Lord would have spread his word, and we can't always understand why there are those who don't thoroughly like would have been used by God in such ways. I know it must have taken the time for those Christians to have warmed up to Paul as becoming one of them. This, of course, doesn't make my view make me view Constantine the way I would have viewed Paul. He has a different role here, and I believe he has been underestimated much for how Christianity has embedded in itself deeply in Western cultures. Because of him being more of a political figure, if it wasn't for his decision to legalize and promote Christianity, there would have the possibility of common people like you and me not even known anything about it, or would not have bothered to learn of it because of how it may be obscure to find out about it. Of course, there are just the what ifs, but I hope you do see my point on this, that he is still really much important to note in the history of our faith. As I learned from this from a lot of Christian scholars themselves, regardless of their denominations, you and I may disagree with his method in attempting to persuade pagans in his time to leave their beliefs and become Christians just like him. But he did make the faith at least more widespread and become more accessible to your everyday person living at that period. So, by the time his son came to power, Christianity by then became the only legal faith in the empire. I have, in my thorough reading of the subject, discovered how far different even the Catholic Church then was to what it is now. The reason he declared the Church Catholic is because the Christian faith has been the only faith at that period and still is today, where supposedly a slave and his master can come together to worship in the same place and have adoration for the same God. Romans and Greeks had so many gods then, and they each cater to people that reflect their attitudes and social status. With Christianity, there is no such distinction, for we are all of the same value to our Creator. But of course, I am truly aware how much it has veered very far from the original Christian creed. Referring to the 1st and 2nd centuries, asceticism penetrated Christian faith in the Middle Ages, unfortunately, and that has greatly influenced what the Catholic Church believes in today. It was also Constantine who, in his right mind, brought together all the books of Old and New Testaments to be compiled as one book, which is more convenient to carry and to study on. I was surprised to have learned this, and this isn't from the Catholic source I got this info from. For before that, much of the books in the Bible were scattered and were read and studied all very separately, so in this aspect he is credited for that. Again, I am not saying his view of the theology is even entirely correct. The method he does in spreading the Word of God is flawed, and I wouldn't do the same thing to convince someone to investigate the truth. But even in biographies about him, he had not paid offerings to any of the pagan gods after his conversion, though he was only baptized in water near his death. I don't wish to argue with you, but learning about this, to me, inspiring, and add some depth to my understanding of what I believe in. I am not sharing this to tell you how much I know so much, which I don't believe so. I am very sincere in my search for the truth, in my wanting to understand the God who I have faith in since I was really young. My desire to study further on has been also due to my embarrassment of not being able to tell properly to some atheists in my class back then why I believe in what I believe, and why any of them should even accept salvation in Jesus Christ. In this way, I was very challenged and was admittedly deeply troubled how I learned very little about what was in the Bible and the basic Christian tenets. I have since read the entire New Testament for 3 times, and now on my way to reading it the 4th. I am still trying to finish the entire Old Testament as well. Even reading through many times of it requires much of background knowledge, going behind the text to learn the real context of the passages. My being so introspective has led me to this conclusion in my mind, how I need to view my life in his ways and not in mine. This was radical to me when I suddenly had that revelation while in my deep search of my purpose in this life. When I was 12, I did read at least from the Old Testament all on my own without any prompting from anyone, because I wanted to learn really the truth about my existence, my real purpose for him, as I could not see how relevant my existence was to many people then. And even now, I still sense that. And my pursuit of learning more hasn't stopped since then. And I do wish that I am able to formally study on it, that I may even teach and inspire to many out there who hasn't heard of it or haven't really been properly equipped enough to know about Christ to actually prompt in them to search his truth. the way I have been through in the process. Love, I don't even mean to annoy you with all this heavy information, but I am sincere in wanting to just share with what's been on my mind then. Just as you are passionate about your discussion with me on evolution, which I do agree with you much on that stance, but maybe learning about evolution in universities may help me to really know their arguments for it, that I may learn to properly argue against them. I hope you know what I mean, and that my ramblings aren't really exasperating you. Let's see here. So sorry for even having this one composed. This was the first thing that came to mind when I woke up, and I have been prompted also just to add more to that conversation we had left off. Sorry also for how scattered my thoughts are over here. Haha, I admit to be writing this also to help me warm up to writing my essays, which are not easy to do at all. I love you, and very deeply so, and wish in so many ways that I can show you how much I want to be just around you and be in your arms. I know at times that you think I am too obsessed with you to the point that I am blind much to my reality. Nevertheless, and regardless of the distance, I really hold you deep in my heart. I still have this burning passion that I've never felt for any guy before. Fact. Sorry if I sound so repetitive here. I am like that at times, but I do this more for emphasis, to assert myself that I am not using you, nor ever having this desire to fool you and play games with you at all. I did not even come online with this intent to flirt with a man, to have relations with at all. But it just so happens that I have come across someone, such as you, that so spontaneously moved my heart deeply, and how naturally it felt falling for you. I have no disdain for you, and have much respect for you as a person, even for whatever disagreement we may have, though it is natural to get hurt from any misunderstanding. I would be subservient as a wife if I could ever be one to you, but it is also being realistic to learn about things we may not always agree on passionately, but I'm open to inquiry of any for what I stand for. To add to that, I would not yell to express my disagreements on, unless being provoked intentionally, but you are not that way with me. Anyway, I think I'm writing too long here. Sorry for getting a bit carried away, just having the need to express myself further to you that I wasn't able to say then. My love, take care, and hope your frequent getting together with your son would turn out to be really beneficial for both of you. I've been praying that he would develop close relationship with you, as I know this would also change him in many positive ways. Once more, I declare I love you. Godspeed. Love, your little doe. Viewers, I read a personal letter like that. I haven't even asked her permission. She knows how radical I am, and she would not have a problem with it, and I will, obviously, she sees my videos. I read that, not to boast on, look at me, some girl likes me. This girl admits her faults. She says, I'm awkward around people. I'm not confident around people. I'm very uncomfortable in crowds. And when she moved to Australia 7 years ago, she found that the people there just did not take to her at all. That Australians are extremely racist and very, very walled up around anybody who's non-white. And yet, when I talk to her on Skype, I look at her university where she goes, and I see people all in the background. I see Muslims and Arabs and Asians all over the place, and the handful of white Aussies I see, boring, dowdy dressed, many of them overweight, and many of them thinking they're all that in a bag of chips. And I find that, boy, Australia in some ways is no different than America. The other thing I noticed is that when she goes to the public library, there is all this noise in there talking. And I thought, boy, even in the States, that's not allowed. You go into the Denver Public Library and start having a loud conversation at one of the tables, they're going to ask you to be quiet or get out. Australia is not just like the U.S., but Maharani's a nice person. She's quiet. She says, sometimes I'm a wallflower. But she says, I dare to step out of my own fears and try to engage with people, and they'll engage with me only so much, and then they'll pull back, and that's it. Maharani admits to a lesbian woman coming on to her a couple of years ago and invited her for coffee. She went to coffee with her, but she said, I was not even remotely interested in lesbian stuff, but she attacked me when I started talking about my beliefs in God, and she sent me a text the next day saying, let's not talk about these things, and I did not respond to the text, nor did I respond to her again, and that was the end of that. She said, I have no tolerance for people who will not accept the fact that I'm a Christian and that I'm not going to agree with everything. Let me be fair to my viewers. It is Maharani who presents a view of Constantine that I did not think about. It is easy for me to go, gosh, he was utterly corrupt. And yet, it is very possible that God used things that were in existence at the time to at least promote Christian faith. It is what people did with it since then that has gotten so heavily distorted. Martin Luther, who nailed his 95 Thesis to the church doors of Wittenberg, he did a remarkable thing. But as I studied Martin Luther's life, he was very anti-Semitic. And he held on to some views that were not right. And then I had to say, so you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Now, that doesn't mean I can't, how do I say this? Unpack his views and say, well, that wasn't right. This was a good thing. He talked about grace. He talked about you cannot earn your salvation. You cannot merit God's favor. And his 95 Thesis, his standing up was a death knell to Catholicism in many ways, and it opened the door for Protestantism, for the simplicity of the gospel message to get out. Now, Luther had a lot of trappings of the Roman Catholic Church. So after reading Maharani's work here, I have to come away and say that God did use him, flawed though he was, to at least cease some of the openly hostile persecution against the Christians to the degree that Nero and the Romans were doing it. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be long for the budding Catholic Church to reinstitute the same manner of evil practices against those of true faith and Jewish people and others. God does work in mysterious ways. But the reason I read that email to you was simply this. You find for me in this country 24-year-old white girls. I'm going to go further. Black girls. I'm going to go further. Hispanic girls, and tell me how often you find that level of intellectual maturity in God. I have not even met 24-year-old Christian girls that think that deeply. Bottom line is they don't care about Constantine or this or that. That most of Christianity in this country today is more faddish than anything. They can tell you their favorite Christian rock band, but they know nothing about church history. There is nobody that I've met over here like Maharani. I look at the 20-something-year-old girls I work with. They're covered in tattoos. They're dyeing streaks, and we got two beautiful black-haired girls, and they put these blonde, ugly streaks in their hair. They're starting to push the envelope more and dress more and more slutty, wearing a sweatshirt jacket with nothing on underneath. Their mother, who is just a few years younger than me, is drop-dead gorgeous and is experimenting with women and is bisexual. And this is the world we live in, folks. Maharani doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't do drugs, never has done any of the above. She has never had sex with a man. She's never experimented with a woman. And her way of thinking and her way of relating are nothing like what I see with people her age over here. I'm going to say something that in this country many people would not think she's beautiful. Small-breasted, very small, petite girl. But guys being guys, there are many guys who would take an interest in her. Maharani's very self-conscious about her defects, very self-conscious about the fact that hair grows right here. A lot of Indonesian women I knew had that issue. She's asked me, if we were able to be together, would you love me even though I have hair that grows right here? I said, yes. She goes from a family with a father who is diabetic, a father who is going into more of a state of depression, a father who works at a factory, who was an attorney in Cebu, who works at a factory and is treated like crap and made fun of by Aussies, who has watched good-looking women come from other countries get raised up to high positions while he's been there faithfully driving a forklift, working in the warehouse, and not gotten promotions or anything. Her father is not well in many regards. Exploding that she talks to somebody my age overseas on the internet. Her family's still against that. A month ago, they took away her other phone, even though she has not called me at all. This family doesn't realize what they have in their daughter. Her younger sister is drowning in addiction to anime. Her younger brother is drowning in gaming. Both of them go behind their bedroom door when their father said, I want everybody to cut down on their internet usage. Australia is really behind the times in their internet. Every time I talk to Maharani, we're getting cut off. The signal drops. She said, our internet, it has been said, is just as bad as any developing country. I said, isn't that something? And this is the university's Wi-Fi. They get charged for data usage. It's not like the U.S. where we get unlimited high-speed internet. I was like, wow. Her dad told everybody to cut down, and she has. Her next eldest sister, who's younger than her, has become bossy butt, is gaining weight, is extremely rude, and has made it very clear, if mom and dad die, I want nothing to do with you. She hates men. She hates men because she was made fun of when she was younger. One day I was talking to Maharani, and she walked by, didn't know I was online, and made some very horrid comment about me. I said, tell your sister to, take the headphones, unplug the jack. I want her to hear what I have to say. I said, you're 22 years old, young lady. And I said, when I was your age, I had my own apartment, I was working full-time, and I was living on my own, not living with mommy and daddy and getting a free ride to a university to smart off and make comments to people that I don't even know. She stormed out of the room and says, I don't want to listen to him. And of course, she promptly went and told her parents. To which everybody came in and said, you need to get off the internet, you need to stop communicating him, or we're going to kick you out of the house. The sister is a jerk. I don't have anything to do with her. I have no interest in talking to her and just seeing her pictures. And her parents did a very awful thing. They basically put her as the head one in charge of the estate when they die, and they remove Maharani completely from the will. I'm going to say something to parents. I still believe in biblical roles. I think the oldest has rights. And to sit there and pit child against child is just so wrong. That you may not agree with everything your daughter's doing. Your daughter's not out doing drugs. Your daughter's not out playing hooky. Your daughter isn't out getting Fs. Your daughter isn't out drinking and carousing around with guys, and you're worried about her talking to a guy on the internet that I'm the only one that she feels she can relate to. You're messed up, Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad are very Catholic, and the more I hear from Maharani, it is doubtful that they are born-again Christians. They're ignoring the youngest daughter who's drowning in anime video after anime video, which is consuming a huge amount of data usage. Maharani said she's doing it all the time. I said, have you turned that in? She goes, yeah. They're ignoring the brother who's drowning in video gaming, and all of them go to university. So here's a family who grew up Catholic. One daughter has already become quite feminist and hates guys. Wants nothing to do with guys, doesn't want to be married. And I said, boy, hope she works on losing that weight, because if she keeps going the way she's going, she's going to be too tired to work, and she's going to have somebody to support her. She'll come in and tell Maharani what to do. And Maharani finally several times said, you need to stop. Maharani has admitted to me that she has tried in vain to make friends, and it doesn't work. That the family is friends with different Asian families, but even the other Asian girls her age, they drink, they party, and they're nice to Maharani, but Maharani says, you know, we just don't have a lot where we can connect. I'm going to say it again, that when you're Christian, the world is not going to love you. It doesn't matter if it's Maharani in Melbourne, Australia. It doesn't matter if it's Pacific in Lakewood, Colorado. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for you. If you want to get deep and you want to live for God, you're going to be made fun of. You're going to be criticized. And my channel is testimony to that. The criticism is daily on this channel. The internet is full of critics. It is full of wags and trolls. And again, most of these people have no picture, no videos, nothing to contribute whatsoever except to sput and diarrhea all over the internet. That's all they do. And there's not enough toilet paper to wipe them away. Pacific is confident. And Mr. Laidlow, I thank you for your encouragement on Facebook to keep on keeping on. Thank you. We talk about things that are real. And it's up to anybody's own interpretation as to what is considered positive and what is negative. But I'm going to say it again. When you have electricity, you have to have positive and negative. You cannot have positive with no negative. You don't get a current. I got to be honest. I know for a fact, because I know myself, if I was some hot-looking GQ guy and I had the means to pull down good money, do you know my focus wouldn't even be here? I'm going to say something to my viewers that's going to shock you. That wig was fun. But I do know that it made me a little feminine. People would see me from behind. One of the mechanics, big black guy, he's not the nicest of characters. I've said hello, and I can tell by the body language and stuff that he's not favorable towards whites. I've had to go to the shop, and his approach to me is less than stellar. Apparently, he came in the other day, saw my back turn, saw the long hair, and he said to one of the other girls, "Ooh, who's that hot-looking woman over there?" She goes, that's Guy. She called me by name. I turn around, and the guy, I hear him say, "Oh, that's not right. That's not even right. Oh, man, that's not even right." And he walks out of the room. I said to the other driver, or the lady, I said, "What was that all about?" She said, "Oh, he thought you were some hot new employee." And I said, "Oh, my." I'm like, no, please. That just goes to show you the way guys are. All he sees is the hair outline, and doesn't even see my face, doesn't see the front of me. And can I be honest? When I was in traffic, guys would pull up next to me and they're doing this until I turned my face and stared right back at them. And then it's a dude. And then suddenly it hit me. And we're going to do a video about this soon. What's it like being a woman? Does anybody know? There was a young lady came to the door the other day, and the man of the house answered it, and I came around to see who it was. She was handing out a flyer making people aware of the rape in Colorado. According to this, it's saying 1 in 4 women in Colorado get raped. 1 in 17 men. 1 in 4 women. I don't know if those statistics are inflated. But the more I'm learning about Colorado, we've got a huge problem here. Somebody said something the other day that shocked me, and I need to find out about this because this just doesn't sound right. Saying Denver's becoming the 3rd most expensive place to live in the United States. And I'm like, that can't be right. We're talking Boston, we're talking New York, we're talking Atlanta, we're talking, going out west, Seattle, San Francisco, LA. Those aren't cheap. Denver's economy is booming right now. And do you want to know what's driving it? And they're building lofts and high-rises. They weren't building those when I was here before. High-rises are going up all over the place. One of the security guards at one of the schools I said, how tall are you going to make that building? Is that the roof, or are they still going up? She goes, I have no idea. She goes, you know what's driving all this, don't you? She said, the pot laws. I said, the people who smoke pot aren't rich. Generally. She goes, no, but the people who have the dispensaries are cleaning up, and they're all coming here wanting to start business. Isn't that nice? Our economy is prospering, and a lot of that has to do with vice. So 1 in 4 women get raped, and it dawned on me. Look at you, just with the hair, the long, beautiful, pretty black hair. Right away, men just assume, ooh, hot female. And I got to be honest with you. Can I say something, male viewers? I'd be scared to death to be a good-looking woman in this culture. Scared. It suddenly hits me. How would you like to be... You as a man, you take this for granted because it doesn't happen to you. You can drive your car. Nobody's going to bother you except idiot drivers. Imagine being a woman, leered at, walked at, people following you, people checking out your boob size, checking out your rear end. Think about it, guys. Would you be comfortable with that? How'd you like to be viewed in this country as a walking sex object just because you're good looking? It suddenly hit me. I wouldn't. I know men. And I tell you what, men scare me. I would not want to be a woman in this culture. No way. Men wanting to touch me. Men sticking their beards and fur in my face. And their hands and their sweat all over me. No way. And suddenly it hits me. You take it for granted, Pacific, that you're a guy. You can go and walk downtown Denver, and other than some street douchebags that might leer out or say some dumb thing, you'll generally be left alone. But if you had long red hair and had a pair of breasts, and you were to walk down that street and were attractive, you wouldn't want to walk down a dark alley by yourself. And you'd have guys looking at you wouldn't want looking at you. I think of that Korean gal I dated a couple years ago. Some idiot walked up to her in a park. In Washington Park. Nice neighborhood of Denver. She's pushing her stroller and he looks down at the kids and says, 2 wrongs don't make a white. I cannot believe it. And I've seen this stuff here. I want to tell you what happened years ago. 1998. I'm walking down the 16th Street Mall, downtown Denver, Colorado, and they had just opened a place called the Cheesecake Factory, closer to the end of that mall. Got my small Bible tucked under my arm. I'm walking to Riverside Baptist Church. Yep, used to walk from 16th and Logan all the way to 23rd and Alcott. I didn't have a car then. The ex-wife, then wife, wasn't feeling good, so I went along. Some guy is out because they had a courtyard with tables as well as the inside of the restaurant, and he's out preparing for opening business for the Sunday. And the guy with company attire on, doesn't know me, turns around and says to me this, I kid you not, exact words, "Oh, off to church to learn more bullshit." I was just like, I turned around and said, actually, the truth. And he mumbled something, and I thought, I wish that happened today. And so, you know what? Go get your boss, please. Go get your boss, and let's have a chat with your boss, okay? I would have nailed him. He said, I'm walking down the street, and this is what your employee just said to me. What prompts a guy, I'm walking, minding my own business, not singing, not drawing attention to myself, off to church to learn more BS? That is a true story, and I've had a lot of stuff like that in Denver. You're minding your business, and somebody just walks up and says something. I mean, I was talking to a student on my bus. She got expelled last week for fighting. She said, I admit I was wrong. I didn't like this girl, and I said something to her, and she smarted off, and I had her on the ground, and she said the dean of the school had to sit on me. I said, and I did. I was very polite. I said, aren't you guys ladies? She goes, I know, I was wrong. And I started talking to her on the way to taking her to her midday school. And I said, what is it about this town that it's such a fighting town? I said, the girls fight. The Hispanic girls fight. The black girls fight. I said, there's so much fighting here. And she goes, I know. I said, I have noticed in this town you can mind your own business and somebody will try to get into it with you. I said, I'm an adult and I see it in traffic. She goes, no, it's true. She goes, you're absolutely right about that. It doesn't matter if you mind your own business and keep your nose out of stuff. Somebody will try to get you into a confrontation here. Now, somebody else could say, well, that goes on in my city too. I've lived a lot of places, and I got to be honest with you, I've never seen it more than in Denver, Colorado. When I was in Spokane, you could pretty much dope along and be left alone, but not here. I watch what people do in traffic. I watch what people do in the break room. I watch what people like confrontation here. They like to force confrontation. They like to do something so that you'll react, and then they've got an excuse to come after you. Isn't that a twisted way of thinking? Oh, by the way, but God is dead and atheists are true. I tell you what, most of the people that start this kind of stuff are godless anyway. But I'm focusing on Maharani, and I'm focusing and communicating to my viewers that I wanted you to see an open porthole into the life of a young woman who is not arrogant, who does not think she's all that in a bag of chips. In fact, she's constantly telling me she's nothing. She's small, and she was standing down at the train depot down in Melbourne one day, and a bunch of teenagers, skateboard punks, came up and yelled in her face. No reason. She's just standing there with her arms at her side. She said, it scared me, and I was moving away from them. I'm going to tell you something. We underestimate these teens, but they are picking on nice people. People that really can't defend themselves. Which leads me to my next thing, that these people aren't tough. They're a bunch of cowards. And they go after people that are no contest. And that stuff, man, I said, man, you're lucky I wasn't there. I would have mouthed off and gotten into it with every one of them. Said, hey, you little butt punks, you should take your skateboards and get out of here. I don't mean to be rude, but just like here, I wouldn't put up with that crap in Aussie culture or Denver culture. I try not to escalate things, but there are times when I will stand up and say, excuse me, you'd better back up. Some of the drivers I work with, born and raised in Denver, and when we've done excursions together where there's 4 or 5 buses and we all go to breakfast because we have to stay with the group, but the group doesn't come out for a few hours and we're right downtown anyway, and we'll walk over to one of the grills and eat breakfast or whatever. And I hear the same thing over and over about all the fights they got into. Fighting. And it suddenly dawns on me why guys look at me and size me up, and it takes them a long time to come down from that and say, hey, how you doing? Because they realize, wow, I'm not one of these threats that they're so used to. What a dumb culture. I guess Denver's theme song was, we're going to rock this town, rip this place apart. Stray Cat strut. I wanted to highlight a woman that clearly shows a difference. So back to my original premise. Let me tell you about a 23-year-old black girl. Cute, nice to me, at work, drives. She's got a daughter. Then I find out the other day she smokes. And she's been flirty with me and stuff. But as I was talking to her the other day, there is no comparison. She's down to earth for being pretty. She told me something shocking. She dated a heavy black guy, and he was self-conscious about his heaviness and said, why would a pretty girl like you want me? And then he finally accused her of cheating on him. She goes, I never cheated. I even let him move into my apartment. Of course, I got pregnant. And then, things got so bad I had to break up with him because he just wouldn't accept himself and wasn't confident. And I said, you actually accepted an overweight guy? She goes, I loved him. I said, you're rare. But as I talked to her, she wants to go over-the-road truck driving. I said, what are you going to do with your daughter? She's young. She needs you. And her response was, I never wanted kids. And she said, I really need a break. And she goes, and I know that. But she says, I got to do more than work part-time and split shifts. And she was telling me daycare is $800 a month. I said, oh my gosh. $800 a month, folks, in Denver, Colorado. So she can take her on the bus in the morning, run her back in the afternoon. That cuts it down to $400 a month. That's insane. If you want to make money in Denver, Colorado, come on out and open up a licensed daycare center and you'll roll in the dough. I cannot believe that. No, I'm not going to go into daycare. No way, no way, no way. I'm not running a bunch of babies and diapers and no. I'll pull what little hair I've got left out of my head. God bless those women that run daycare centers. I couldn't do it. It's one thing to drive a bus and say bye as they go out the door. It's one thing to be stuck with them 4 to 8 hours a day, pooping and whining and grabbing toys and don't hit Johnny. He had the toy first. Toddlerville. But she wants to go over the road truck driving. And her response to me was, I like the way guys look at me when I come out of the bus. It makes me feel like I'm really important. Now, I'm not putting her down. I understand a little vanity there. But Maharani isn't like that at all. Maharani doesn't want to drive a big semi-truck. And I said, you realize, as a pretty young lady, you would be in big threat if you pull into the truck stops. And another guy overheard the conversation and said, yeah, you wouldn't want to do that. Every one of those truckers is going to hit on you. You're not going to be safe. Why do today's women in this country desire man things? I'm sorry, trucking is for men, not girls. I appreciate some wives who want to ride along with their husband. That is honorable, but because the husband's there to protect them and shield them from the garbage. I just don't understand today women wanting to be men. And I look at Maharani, who's intellectual, who thinks things out. I'm not going to find a woman like that. There's a woman at work that is interested in me, and her actual intellectual level, she is 55 years old. I'm not interested in her. Can I be very honest why? She's not my type in any way. She lacks the energy I have. When she was riding my bus as a bus aide, she kept saying, man, you're so energetic, and just hearing that over and over, I'm like, you know what? No. The other thing is every day when she comes within 3 feet of me, her breath is just kicking bad, awful, like horrid. I would never say that to her, but I find myself backing away. I went over to her place for dinner one night, and I thought, I just can't get into this. She wanted to watch Friends and sit on TV. And I can't have these deeply intellectual conversations with her. I'm not even remotely physically attracted to her. And I tried to be open, and I'm like, no. And many viewers will sit there and go, these wags will say, boy, you're desperate. No, I'm not desperate. I didn't go after her. I didn't kiss her. No. I come in with the wig the other day. Why are you wearing that? I say, because I can and it's funny. Maharani truly accepts me. And many of my viewers say, well, go get her. Even my friend in Hong Kong says, go after her. I love Mouse, but she doesn't understand immigration. She doesn't understand the complications. I'm not going for round 2. But I wanted to read to you a letter from an intellectual girl who's 24 years old, who is feeling very much shut out by the world. Can I say something? There's a difference between being obnoxious. I'll talk about my friend in Missouri. He goes through the same thing. He's trying to find a job. I ask my viewers to pray for him. He had an interview with a school bus, school district. I hope he gets it. A lot of those that watch my channel that are truly trying to live for Christ, they get it. They're not in the popular crowd. They're not singing the song, I wish that I could be like the cool kids. We're not cool, folks. But what I'm going to go by on my videos is number of views, not a thumbs up and thumbs down. Because even if I had 300 thumbs down, 300 people took the time to watch it. And if I make another video and another 300 watch it and they thumbs down it, and another 300 watch the next video and watch it, and another video 300 watch the next video, I'm going, hey, if it's so bad, why are they watching it? Trolls do all kinds of weird backwards reverse psychology, make accounts, make it look like more people. I'm aware of that. But I just simply look at the fans that are on my Facebook that are loyal. I look at the fans that aren't on my Facebook that are loyal. I read their comments. I see their encouragement, the personal messages that don't show up under the comments. So a few people get annoyed that I'm not even familiar with. Okay. People talking to me as if though I'm a child. Get rid of that wig. Don't wear that. Okay, Mommy, I'll submit to you. I don't see a picture of you. I don't know who you are. And yep, you're right. I'm going to do what you tell me to do. It's amazing watching human reaction. And the wig just taught me something yesterday. Do what you're going to do and be yourself. And expect all kinds of stuff. What matters is if you like it. Now, obviously, if all of society went and shunned you, you might want to take a look. But it's funny to watch people that will be rude in a work setting and say things they shouldn't say, react to a guy walking in wearing a wig that's no harm to them, no threat to their personal safety, no threat to their hygiene, no threat to their comfort zone. Well, maybe it is a threat to their comfort zone. That somebody doing some simple act like that, that people who don't even talk to me, hey, can I ask you, what are you doing that for? Why are you wearing that? And the sarcastic part of me wants to say, because I can. This is America, not Stalag 13. Maybe it is. I know nothing, Colonel Klink. Here's a candy bar, Colonel. It's funny that we grew up on those shows, Hogan's Heroes, and we laugh at them. We have no idea that it wasn't anything like that. We take shots at the Germans. The Germans were austere and strict, and it was not like Hogan's Heroes. That whole show is so far from reality, and that is the problem in America. We've grown so far from reality that somebody walks in with a wig and it's the end of the world. Somebody the other day says, I dare you to walk in like a drag queen. I said, no. We had a guy that did that. The same guy who was criticizing me for the wig. I said, excuse me, you showed up on Halloween drag queen. In the break room, this is what he said to me. And I didn't yell. I said, you were dressed like a drag queen in a dress and high heels. And you're commenting about a wig? And in front of many people, this is exact words, what he said to me. He says, somebody paid me $200 to do that, you mother effer. I walked up to him and said, did you call me a mother effer? And he says, yes, I did. I said, you know, that's amazing that you can say that. I'm asking you a question. When have I ever been rude to you? He says, well, I'm Irish, and that's the way my friends and I talk. I said, I don't go for that. And I jokingly said, why don't we step outside? He said, oh, I'd tear you up in 5 minutes. I said, are you sure of that? And he's stronger than me. There's no doubt about it. And I said, are you absolutely sure? It's amazing what people believe. They're so sure of things. And I laugh and go, you don't know. Yesterday, the Black Jehovah's Witness came up and said I was at the cafe and there were several people and he was mentioned. And they were all saying favorable things about you. I said, he did? No, they were all saying, he's a very nice guy. One girl went up to her mother and said, why is he wearing a wig? People talk about him now. Does he not think that they're going to talk about him even more? And I said, that's why I did it, because I knew they would. I like to push the envelope in a setting like that because unlike Maharani, who will try to just be quiet so that she's not harassed, I'll be bolder. People don't know what to do with that in this country. When you're bolder, they're less likely to go after you hardcore. Just something I've noticed. Viewers, I got to get ready for work, but you can tell me. The trolls, go away. I just continue blocking you. I'll block all your IDs and accounts and all your game playing. This channel is for mature people only. If you're not comfortable with the content, if you think this is too negative, if you think I'm repeating myself, don't tell me that. Just go away. Go tell somebody else who cares. Because I have too many people writing me daily on the phone, on Skype, on Facebook saying, this video reached me. This video affected me. I had a girl tell me yesterday, I hadn't read the Bible in 5 or 6 years. I kind of turned my back on God. And because I started watching your channel, I've been reading Scripture. People say you haven't changed in a year. Oh, but people are changing by watching my videos. I am changing. I'm gaining more confidence. I've been facing some of the music when I wanted to run. No, you may not see the changes God does and others do and I do. What I don't see with the wags on YouTube is any change in them, but them continuing to blow stuff out of their rear end over and over and over. Why don't you make a channel and show me how it's done, scholar? Why not? I love the people that are my critics. They're not making one single video that's going to pull in the amount of people on one of mine. For all my critics out there that say I'm being too negative, show me how it's done. Put your face on there and start talking about your experiences, your life, and see if you can attract a following. You probably can't. And you won't because you're too scared. How come every troll I know is tough talking? There's an exception. Some of the few out there, Pandora, Lore Master, Minor People, they were bold. Of course, Minor People never put his face out there. When they took me on, they took me on. At least they faced the camera and did it. But most of these people writing their butt-sput comments, because that's all it is. And I don't mean to be crude, but if I can give a graphic image, if you ever had diarrhea so bad and you sit out on the toilet and your butt just explodes, it goes and sprays the bowl, that's all these trolls are. Bowl sprayers. Pacific, why do you gotta be so graphic? Because it drives the point home. And it injects some humor. People want entertainment. There you go. Butt spot. Remember a couple of years ago, trolls really got to me, and they still get me annoyed. And not gonna watch your channel anymore because your video bothers me. Go away. And some might say, well, you're changing, you're getting arrogant. No, I'm becoming more sure-footed in YouTube land. Make a video and show me that you're better. I'm not going to be jealous. I'm going to say, well done, I inspired somebody. Hey, I'm not the wheel. The wheel was invented a long time ago, but I got a niche, and this niche will be its niche. And if you can do it better, do it. If I can inspire somebody to start a channel and take off and promote the gospel and promote God's truth and bring glory to God and get people to feel comfortable talking to them because they sense real and sincere, hey, you go, boy, you go, girl. But on the contrary, Two people that have attacked me, both of them are not going upwards. They're not thinking eternally. Pandora? Wow. You want to talk about a ghetto channel? There you go. Call 1-800-GHETTO. GTTO FM. Your one stop for ghetto talk. I mean, really. And it's not just me being vindictive. I want Pandora to be saved. I want her to come into the light of God's love. I want her to know that she can be accepted in the beloved. But I've watched a few of her videos a long time in the past, and it's a waste of time. There's no substance. I'm not learning anything from it. That even her critique of me, none of it was like, ooh, she's got a point there. It's like, this is just dumb. Loremaster, his up and down and his bipolar behavior of going on about his conversion to Christianity and then, oh, that was a joke. A lie is a better word. Wow, that was dumb. So I've committed a social experiment wearing a wig, and that just elicits all this hate response and what is going on with you. But Loremaster can fake Christianity, and not too many comments showed up on that, did they? I know exactly where I'm at. I've got my finger on the pulse. People are getting offended by what I say in the videos and stepping on their toes. Instead of dealing with what they're convicted about, they start pulling stuff out of their butt, going, oh, you're negative. It's the same thing over. What bothered you in the video? Let's deal with that. What made you so mad that your butt hurt that now you want to get out of here? Hey, you've been here a whole year and you say nothing's changed? I don't believe that. The videos have been pretty consistent. You waited a whole year to finally drop. Somebody's making IDs. Somebody's playing games. I'll bet you Gypsy's still watching these videos. I'll bet you money on the table she's still watching these videos. Good. Faith cometh by hearing, hearing by the word of God. I pray that God convict her to realize she's not all that in a bag of chips, and I don't care if she's got 50 million friends, is the best teacher in the world. She's way off the beam. These people are amazing. Pacific knows that he's got problems. Pacific knows that he's imperfect. And the beautiful thing is, Pacific is comfortable with himself. Not comfortable with my struggles and sins, but he's comfortable enough to get out here and put it out here. But I showed you the difference between a 24-year-old in another country and one here. I'm not saying there aren't 24-year-olds in America that aren't like her, but boy, I just don't run into them. I just don't run into them at all. I look at the 22, 23, 24-year-old bus aides we have, covered in tattoos, piercings, very childish, very immature. They will not look me in the eye and say hello. They're like this all day long, and Maharani doesn't do any of that. American teenage women and young women today, I'm going to say something, not in the sight of God and His love and grace. But outside of that, they're completely worthless for relationship, for giving, for contributing anything to the collective good of society or others. They're complete stagnant lakes where all the rivers flow into them. This country doesn't realize it, that the more narcissistic we're becoming, that one day when the real disaster comes, we're going to be in trouble. Because it'll be really easy for an invading army to come in and destroy us because we're not united. We're all about ourselves. I think I've said enough on that matter. Have a great day. This is Pacific signing off. Bye-bye.